All
All
right.
right. The reason why I asked Gudrun to record, maybe one day I'd like to watch this with my family again, with my son, who has no idea what I'm doing right now. But all right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. 2 seconds. Try that again. All right. I feel like I always have to ask this. Can people see my screen, after 5 years?
Yep. Yeah, it looks good.
All right. Um, so let's get started. All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you for being here from around the world. My name is Nehemiah Chung. My dissertation is titled From Marginality to Mattering, a narrative inquiry into international student involvement. I want to acknowledge my committee, Dr. Newt, Dr. Mack, Dr. Westner Michael, for their guidance. Today, I'll walk you through the motivation for this study, the framing and approach, the core findings, and the practical implications for how institutions can better design involvement pathways for international undergraduate students. Oh, okay. All right. So here's our plan for next, hopefully 25 minutes or so. I'll briefly set the context and research questions, summarize methods, and then spend most of the time on findings organized as 3 themes, followed by discussion, implications, limitations, and future directions. Leave time for questions at the end. Before we jump in to the main content, the 4 pictures that you see on the right side illustrates how my experiences, both direct and indirectly, shaped my approach to international student support. Starting from the top right, you'll see my first internship at Florida International University, working with peer mentors in the Office of International Services in summer 2014. From there, I moved into full-time positions across the U.S. institutions, including North Carolina State University, University of California, Riverside, and Rutgers University, New Brunswick. Each role deepened my understanding of transition needs and informed the practices I study in this dissertation. Did that have pictures? Okay. I'm having double screen, y'all, so that's why I got a little confused. Oh, the speaker's notes has the next slide. Okay. Why this study matters. Over 1 million international students contribute academically, culturally, and economically to U.S. higher education. Yet the path to campus involvement is often unclear. Institutions recruit well, but do not always showcase the first steps from I'm new here to I belong here. Prior work and research links involvement to learning, persistence, and belonging. But we still need a clearer picture of how international students move from margins into meaningful roles. The study focused on that process, the sequence of experience that converts uncertainty into participation and ultimately mattering. In today's higher education landscape, international students experience persistent uncertainty and instability due to frequent changes in federal regulations and political climate. Rather than centering on barriers or challenges, this study elevates positive and success narratives, showing how students leverage involvement to navigate these conditions, foster belonging, and thrive in their campuses. The purpose of this study is to understand how international undergraduate students experience campus involvement and how those experiences shape movement from marginality to mattering. I asked following questions. How do international students experience involvement in campus life from their first attempt to getting involved to campus participation in campus life? What specific challenges do international students face at various times of their involvement journey on campus? What strategies do international students use to overcome these challenges? What successes do international students experience when getting involved on campus? How do international students' experience with involvement in campus life influence their perception of mattering or marginalization within the campus community? Schlesberg's framework, apologize for dramatic effects. It came with the template. Schlossberg's framework helps to explain the internal experience of transitions. Marginality captures feeling of exclusion or invisibility. Mattering is the sense of that others notice, care, share in your outcomes depending on you and appreciate your contributions. These five signals, attention, importance, ego extension, dependence, appreciation, serve as a lens to interpret what students experience as they move deeper into campus life. In my analysis, I examined not only whether students felt these signals, but when and how they emerged along their involvement pathway. Schlossberg gives me a way to name what students feel during transition. I treat marginality as pattern. New students often feel invisible and uncertain about norms. Mattering becomes the mechanism that moves them inward. I operationalize mattering through five observable signals. For attention, I look for moments when someone knew student's name or followed up after a first event, or remembered a detail from previous conversation. That simple recognition frequently unlocked a second visit. Importance shows up when staff or peers adjust around the student, flexing a meeting time, encouraging a challenging task, or check in on how the test went. It communicates your goals matter to me and here. Ego extension is the we language and public pride, such as Instagram kudos after an event, supervisor sharing progress updates, or a peer saying, hey, we did this together and we pulled this off together. Dependence is a turning point. When a student is assigned an opening shift or becomes the event setup or lead or serves on a language liaison, their absence would be noticed. That reliance deepens commitment. Finally, appreciation recognizes the student's unique contribution. Maybe their bilingual skills, technical design ability, or cross-cultural insight is sought out. That specifically fuels identity shift from participant to a contributor. A methodology, I time-stamped when each signal appeared and who delivered it. Then checked what happened next. Did the roles expand? Did the invitations multiply? Across narratives, attention typically came first. Dependence and appreciation most strongly predicted role extension or led to another role. This framing helped me to distinguish nice climate to actionable moments that changed trajectories. So I use narrative inquiry with constructive lens, which fits a study centered on lived experience over time across settings. I conducted 2 semi-constructed interviews per participant with follow-ups for clarification and member checks. Analytically, I constructed individual narratives, then developed across narrative themes, aligning interpretations with theoretical lens. To support trustworthiness, I use member checks, description, reflexive memoing, and positionality statements. The original plan site was large urban public research university with a robust co-curricular ecosystem, hundreds of student organizations, and ready access on-campus employment. The Office of International Services provided orientation and various intercultural programs, yet the navigation of this large system was not always intuitive for new students. Due to challenges with IRB process and recruitment, I have amended my studies to be more broad perspective to expanding to Midwest region of the US, which included medium and large public institutions. There were 6 participants who participated in my study. My participants were international undergraduate students, either on F1 or J1 visa, with at least 1 semester of US higher education experience. They represented various majors, country of citizenship, and had experience with student organizations and or campus jobs. Pseudonyms were used throughout, and the study received IRB approval from NIU. All right, the findings cluster into 3 themes. First was isolation and marginality before involvement. Second, pathways and motivation, especially invitations, low-stake roles, and on-campus employment. Third, mattering and recognition as involvement continued, and how that led to 5 signals in action. All right, so the first theme, initially students describe language and accent pressure that made classroom participation feel risky. The campus felt decentralized and hard to read. Questions like, where do I start? Or what counts as involvement were common. Cultural unfamiliarity with things like homecoming, college football, or Greek life intensified the sense of being an outsider. The first weeks and months were often lonely. Students hesitated to approach organizations without a clear guide. This mattered because uncertain entry points delayed those first wins that builds confidence. When early attention and important signals are missing, someone learning about your name, inviting you personally, the movement towards mattering is slowed. The starting line is uneven without intentional design. So Arjun, one of my participants, shared, beginning my life as a freshman in this country, I was super shocked, to be honest, because I don't know how to speak with people. There were different kinds of all races and all that stuff. Another participant, May, shared, my first language is not English. I went to the US when I was 17. I still have super heavy accent. When I speak English, I feel like as soon as I start talking, people don't really talk to me anymore. Once they realize I'm not from here, their willingness to talk to me decreases. I sometimes feel isolated during school projects or in student organizations. Um, and across other participants, I cannot put all the quotes on here, but they all shared similar kind of challenges, isolation and loneliness during their first semester here in the US. The single most catalytic factor was a personal invitation. So from a peer, staff member, or faculty member, or supervisor, hey, come with me to this meeting, or would you like to help me table at this event for an hour? The invitation lowered social risk and supplied procedural clarity. Students returned when invitations were repeated and specific. Low stake roles like an event setup, a language partner, or observing a committee offered a safe way to try involvement. These roles created quick practice feedback cycles where students could succeed at something manageable, be seen doing it, and learn the unwritten rules. That early success became a hinge point. So Ethan shared a student affairs professional who knew about my involvement, introduced me to new opportunities. So I applied to be a co-director of external relations and I got accepted. So that showcases the staff connection of how he was able to find the next role through student affairs professional. Hannah also shared, at first I was a teaching assistant and also I also got involved in student engagement. So you can see the early kind of involvement through employment, which I'll talk about, but that led the momentum into next roles as she continued to get more involved on campus. So on-campus employment functioned as a structured bridge. Frequent contact with staff and peers produced attention and importance. Supervisors provided feedback that improved language comfort, cultural navigation, and skill development. Visibility in a job often generated invitation to other groups or roles. However, if we look at the other side, if unmanaged, employment could silo students, crowding out broader involvement, visa hour limitations, and variable supervision quality also mattered. So the takeaway is that employment can be a powerful belonging scaffold when intentionally led, with balanced, scheduled, and coaching that integrates students into wider campus community. Motivation tend to evolve along a path looking like safety and then to curiosity, then to contribution towards leadership. As students racked up small wins, their identity shift from a new student to I'm needed here. That shift accelerated future involvement. So Arjun shared, I didn't know when I was applying for this role of a community advisor, how big deal it was. Later, as I kept working with people, everyone had different problems, but everyone reached out to me first. I felt like an important person for them. So that showcased how employment as a community advisor, which is equivalent to residence assistant in the residence hall, showcased the importance that he was able to see that people were reaching out to him for seeking for help. Ethan shared, I was an intern for Vietnamese Student Association. Later, I found student leadership and civic engagement, opened a role called service leader. I received 2 positions, business ambassador and financial officer. After those positions, I applied to become an orientation leader and co-director of external relations, and I got accepted. So you can see for Ethan, it was a chain reaction of or chain roles, how one thing led to the another, creating that relationship and being truly involved in the campus community. As involvement deepened, students described concrete moments of mattering. These signals did not appear randomly. They clustered around structured contact and good supervision. Here are a few snapshots mapped into signals. Being introduced by name at a meeting, attention and importance, being asked to co-lead a small task, dependence, public kudos after an event, ego extension and appreciation. These seemingly small moments compounded into durable sense of belonging. While I want to put every example on here, but I would run out of time. So I have three kind of quotes that I want to share. Rohan shared after that, my supervisor always tried to bring me pizza or sandwiches for vegetarian people. That experience made me feel truly valued, seen, and important in the community. So Rohan shared extra context is that he's a vegetarian. The institution used to only provide salads. So he finally spoke up and shared, is there anything else than salad? And the supervisor kind of remembered that and brought additional food options. So that really brought the attention being noticed and being followed up. Ayan shared seeing people come, enjoy, benefit from these events was incredible. Participation rates increased significantly both times. The successes made me feel deeply connected, realizing my involvement genuinely made a difference on campus. So Ayan was referring to the how he co-led Cultural Heritage Month to showcase his culture and sharing his own pride about his own culture, showcase ego extension. Last, Hannah shared, being a teaching assistant and helping students. When students say thank you, it makes me feel I really matter. When her unique contribution as a teaching assistant showcased appreciation from her students. So putting it all together, the mechanism looks like this. Isolation, marginality when they're first arriving, to lead that first initial invitation, the personal invite to student, how they can start getting to involve and think about the low stakes participation, slow involvement or small roles and small wins could lead to early success and feedback. And that could lead to expanded roles, including employment on campus, which during that employment process or involvement process, having the 5 mattering signals, and that will ultimately lead to mattering, belonging, and persistence. The key is the sequence and how intentional design can accelerate the process. So looking at discussion and moving into discussion and looking at interpreting the findings. First, marginality at entry is predictable, so we can design against it. Second, invitation and low stake roles are not nice to have. They are the conversion mechanism from anxiety to capability. Third, campus jobs, when supervised with cultural humility, are scalable platforms for recognition, responsibility, and appreciation. Finally, mattering is not merely an outcome, it functions as the mechanism that moves students further into the community. So at the institutional level, orchestrating week 1 interactions, multilingual and visual wayfinding, concierge help at fairs, like having an international welcome desk at the involvement fair, an entry point that does not require prior cultural knowledge. Building a distributed welcome network, so there's no wrong door when they enter. We see international students could enter in multiple avenues. That could be pre-arrival, webinars, or pre-orientation meetups at their home countries. Whether a student is entering through International Student Services office or New Student Family Programs office, academic college or student organizations, or maybe their first interaction is moving into the residence halls. For the first contact should include a warm handoff to a specific next step. So that is being intentionally, hey, we want to welcome you, but what happens next? How can we get connected, and where's that handoff? Making sure that handoff happens. And last, normalize cultural humility. So learning, name learning, accent validation, and micro roles as a routine practice, and not just during the welcome week, but looking beyond the welcome week and how can we implement those at the institutional level. For programs, creating micro roles, students can try immediately, pairing involvement fairs with live signups and use invitation, kind of showcase who's going to be attending those events, where each student leader can bring 2 new students and kind of see the ripple effect of who's going to be attending, so they can feel at ease who's going to be there with them. For supervisors of student employees, designing belonging first onboarding. So looking at a buddy assignment or job shadowing when they're first getting onboarded, making sure that they have someone that they can kind of talk to through the process, ask questions, providing early feedback, and providing regular check-ins, even starting from the week 1. So that way the students feel that they can have the relationship to ask questions about anything that is unfamiliar with the job or the expectations. Map job test to 5 mattering signals and schedule public recognition moments. But also protect study time and also recognize the visa limitations as involvement could enhance into different roles rather than so it doesn't have to be competing with the academics. Looking at data and policy, tracking access to involvement by college, major, year to see where the gaps appear. And that could tell us a different narrative depending on the college, depending on the major, but also given the year and how that progresses compared to their first year to down the road, junior, senior year. Add an international student lens to student success dashboard and having truly the voice of international kind of students and their perspective. So that way we can showcase how can we better serve this population? What are the needs of our international students? Resource cross-unit handoff protocols, as I just talked about, and publish a visa-safe pathways for employment and leadership so students don't have to guess. So highlighting some of the student leadership positions are volunteer positions or roles versus leadership positions that gets paid that might have additional benefits, but also reminding them that they have 20 hours a week, a limitation during the semester. Looking at delimitations and future directions. So this study focused on Midwest public context with a small sample consists with narrative inquiry. The focus on this focus is on students who did become involved. Perspective from non-involved students are needed to complement. The goal is depth and transferability rather than the broad generalization of international students. Next steps could include parallel narratives with non-involved students, a supervisor training study that maps onboarding to mattering, outcomes and comparative studies by institution type and country of citizenship. So this study extends Schlossberg by showing mattering as a process mechanism along a pathway, identifies a practical sequence, invitation to low-stake roles, to employment and role growth, to mattering, and translates that into concrete design moves for institutions, level programs, and supervisors. I want to use the campaign hashtag that surfaced during the first Trump administration back in 2017 that NAFSA adapted, which is Association of International Educators, to conclude the presentation. So to our 1,126,690 international students who are currently in the US, you are welcome here. For acknowledgement, I want to recognize my family who's on this call for supporting me throughout this journey, and students, participants who have shared their stories, and my committee for their guidance. Dr. Newt for numerous versions of revisions and kind of helping me to be where I'm at today. For my student affairs mentors who I've crossed paths in my time, and current former supervisors who are on this call to allowing me to grow and become the person I am today. And last but not least, shout out all my colleagues, my cohort, for kind of sharing that journey. I know my colleagues are probably sick of me hearing about my classes sometimes, how my Saturdays went. Hey, what did you do this Saturday? I was in class. Um, I should say that you with more a little bit more excitement. I was in class, but who supported me throughout this journey. So that is it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. And so I'm gonna stop the recording.